Hello folks, and this weekend I'm going to take the RP30 to the racetrack in Mété. And as always, I have to run my pre-checks because I hate to have surprises on the track. And I like to use a checklist. Knowing the Belgian weather, it's most likely going to rain, so I need to fit my rain tires onto the car. Now normally I would be driving with slicks, and slicks are having a good grip on a dry racetrack, but when it's wet they don't. But I'm still going to take the tires or the wheels with me so I can swap it halfway just in case that the track becomes dry. The quick lift is always very handy for this kind of work, and that's all the kind of stuff that I take with me to the track. Now it's also the right time to check the brake pads, and I see I still have a lot of compound on it, so that is good. The disc is looking good, it's not overheated, it's not cracked, it's not grooved. So that all looks good. So now I'm going to put the red flag up, and this is my indication that I have not torqued down yet the nut to 110 Newton meters. So now we put the bolts to torque, which in my case is 110 Newton meters. This is set to 110. The next thing up is to check the tire pressure, and I'm going to set them to 16 pounds square. And as you can see, this is right because I already had them pre-inflated. Once on the track, we may adjust this, depending on how hot or warm the tires are getting. Checking all the hoses to see if there are no leaks, and I've noticed that we have a little bit of a sweating condition here. So this hose is probably loose, and I might have to tighten up the clamp or put a new clamp up. Let's see. All set. So now let's check the riding height. This is set to 90 millimeters. And in the back, we have 10. All right, 10 in the back, 9 in the front. So now let me check the other side. So I got at the left rear, not 9, but actually 10, and at the right, 11. Now that is no good. Actually, it's 110 millimeters. I already suspected this because I've noticed while I was driving on the track in Spa last time that the car is not cornering the same way, left or right. So we'll have to put it on the scales and check out the crossweight balance. And you probably wonder, what the hell is he talking about, crossweight balance? Well, crossweight balance is the weight ratio between the left front and the rear right. Add that weight up, and then the right front and the left rear. And if you add that up as well, then the two additions should be the same. So you should have a 50-50 diagonal load. And that way the car is going to corner exactly the same if you turn left or if you turn right. And the way to adjust it is by adjusting the springs. And these are the springs I was talking about. And you can see we have rings on the top here, and we can actually tighten up the spring or relax it. If you tighten up the spring, so turning these things down, then you're going to force the suspension down. So in essence, you're going to lift the car. So the car is going to go up. If you do it the other way around, if you relax these rings, so the spring becomes more extended, then the car is going to come lower down. This is my left rear wheel. I'm just going to check this out from that top notch here to the top of the shock absorber. And let's say this is 61. Now let's check the other side. And this, if you check it out, you can notice already this is already 63. So this spring is more depressed, so it lifts the car higher up. And we also have checked that just out. This was 110 millimeters from the ground. In order to do this correctly, you have to put them on the scale. So now it's time to measure the crossweight balance on the car, and therefore you're going to need some scales. And I will adjust the tension on the springs. Some people call it the preload. So you always will need to check both situations, making sure that it is actually correct. So go back and forth, crossweight balance, check riding height, crossweight balance, check riding height until. All right, so here we have the scales. And you notice that the scales have labels on them. So right front, right rear, left front. So we place the scales so I can turn it on and see if they are zero rising. And as you can see, all the scales at this moment in time are off. And now they have zero rised. And all 4 of them are now reporting. If you really want to know all the details of this, then I recommend you look at my YouTube channel. Now I'm going to roll the car onto the scales and then I'm going to start measuring. Now normally you would have to have the shell on, but the shell here is very light and it's very equal on both sides, back and front, so I'm not too much worried about it. I will add it on later. And for the rest you should disconnect your sway bar in the back. So let's roll the car on and see what happens. The total weight is 452 kilograms of this car, which is not too bad. But now we need to check the crossweight. And for that, I need to get in the car and see what we got with Steve in the car. And these boots that I have on are way too big to get in this car, but for now, that will do. Let's see. All right. So my crossweight right now, right rear, front left is 44.8%. Not good. That should be 50%. All right. So this is the counter nut, and the other one will allow me to adjust the spring pressures. I'm going to release some of that pressure and see what happens. It took a little bit of time, but we actually got 50%, so 49.9. If I just wiggle a bit, you'll see it becomes 50 or 50.1, 49.1. So I'm happy with that. You can see in the front wheels, we have just a little bit of a difference, not a lot, but that should be okay. Rear wheels, we got a little bit of a difference, but that's okay. Next up are the fluids, and this is the rear brake, this is the front brake, and here we have the clutch. And all these fluids, they look clear, they don't look contaminated, so that is good. I don't need to worry about this. Maybe I might fill up a little bit the clutch fluid. I'm using standard .4 brake fluid. So let's check the cooling liquid. That's good, but I can take just a little bit more, so I will top it up. So let's check the engine oil, and this is a dry sump engine, so that's why we have the oil container on the side here. I changed the oil recently, about, well, let's say 6 months ago, with Motul 300V. We didn't drive it a lot, so I'm not going to change it now. Just going to see how much we have inside, and I think I can top it up a little bit. Not too much, because if you add too much, it's going to be pushed out into the spill tank anyway. So this oil is real good stuff. So if you intend to race, think about this oil. The spill tank is empty. The fire extinguisher is still valid, so we are okay with that. Making sure that the pin is in, so I cannot put it by mistake. And the pressure still looks good. It's still green. They are looking still good and well attached. See if they still lock properly. And it does. All right, so I think this is overall good. I still need to check the attachments on the sides. And then we have the overall inspection of the engine, see if we have anywhere any leaks, and everything looks real dry. and tight around the fuel area. All right, the carburetor connections all seems to be okay. So this side is good. Let me check the other side. All right, external starter connection looks good. No leaks anywhere. Exhaust looks good. The belt looks good. Distributor belt, okay. Yeah, that all looks pretty good to me. All right, so and we also want to check the gearbox oil. Normally when you put your finger in, you turn your knuckle down, it should just touch the oil, but it doesn't. So the oil that I'm using is a Transmax Universal. It's a 75W90. I don't need a lot, just a little bit. So I'm going to give it a few squeezes. Enough. And you can see I already have oil on my finger. So that is good. So it did not need it a lot. It was just a little bit. I can see the level right there. That's it. The next thing we need to do is to adjust the toe on the front wheels, and I'm going to go for toe in, probably about 1.5 millimeters to 1 millimeter, because I do prefer stability on straight line driving versus cornering. I know many of my friends, they do prefer toe out because it corners better, but then again, you don't have straight line stability, so it's always a compromise. So I'm going to go for some toe in. In the back, I probably have 0 toe in, maybe 0.5. I need to think about it. But the camber, I'm going to set it to 2 degrees camber in the front, and I'm going to set it to 1 degree camber in the rear wheels. So for that, you have to have a flat floor and some tools. So this is my camber meter, and that's what I'm going to use to measure out the camber, but you can do it with other tools as well. And I'm having a special metal plate to check it out. Now this is homemade. It's a very simple approach. I put the metal plate up, and my camber meter goes right in the middle, and I check how many degrees I have, and well, I practically have 0, and that's what I expected last time when I was on the track, that it wasn't right. All right, so we'll need to adjust this, and I will have to measure this on all the wheels. We have about 2 degrees. I adjusted a little bit too far, so I need to turn it back. I think I'm going to set it around 1 degree to begin, and then we'll see on the track. Yeah, I think this is about right. So this is like 1 1/4. So let's do the other side the same way, and then we'll see on the track what the result is. Now, this is the kind of thing you really want to have tight, and put markers up once you're done. So now we need to do the toe in. So for that, I'm using my little alignment tool that we created some time ago. And I'm just going to put the string up. All right. Now that string should go through the middle of the wheels. So if you wonder what I'm doing, I'm setting up a rig to adjust the toe in. If you want to know on how all that works, then I recommend you check on my YouTube channel. The idea is that we want to place the car right in the middle of this quadrant that we made with these strings. So this distance here to the string is the same as on the other side. And in the back, the two wheels are on the same distance from the string. Front wheels and back wheels can be different. So now we can actually adjust the toe in. So how much steering inwards we have on the front wheels. In the back, I do not want to have any toe. No toe out, no toe in. In the front, I'm going to go for 1 to 1.5 millimeter on either side. That's the back side of the front wheel. Let's measure the distance from the string. That's 127 millimeters. And in the front, we've got 119. So basically my wheels are pointing outwards, so I have toe out. Way too much, so that's what we need to adjust. Keep in mind that the steering wheel really has to be straight. Otherwise you'll have a false reading. And don't turn the steering wheel while you're doing this work. Pull in, and you can already see they already started to move inwards, right? So let's check. 122. And I have 124. So that's like 2 millimeters. It's maybe just a little bit too much. Turn back a bit. And that's about right. Now I need to do the other side. The alignment is done, so now we're going to try to crank it up. And this is my 8 battery, because the battery inside the car is very small. And let's see if we can crank it up. That's on. So I think now we should start. All right. So all looks good. So now it's time to put the body back up. I'm not going to put the nose up because first of all I need to charge the battery overnight. And then tomorrow morning we'll install the nose. Slowly charge up overnight. And then that should be good enough to get us going for at least 3 runs or 2 runs. I have still a spare battery that will take along, so that should be no problem.